Hello, AMC fans. My name is George Roush, Associate Blog Editor for AMC Theaters, and we're here at the beautiful Anaheim AMC Downtown Disney for an exclusive live streaming event for the new film Prometheus. And now it's my distinct privilege to introduce two incredible talents. The first is undeniably one of the greatest directors of all time, and the second is one of our most promising new visionaries. Ladies and gentlemen, the director of Prometheus, Sir Ridley Scott, and the executive producer and co-writer of Prometheus, Mr. Damon Lindelof.
Thanks so much for having us. Ridley and I had originally planned that he was going to burst out of my chest to greet you all, but I guess the prosthesis was cumbersome and uncomfortable.
Work. I couldn't get inside.
That just sounds all kinds of wrong.
Right.
We've got some questions popping up here from the viewers at home. And then obviously we're going to field questions here live at the AMC Theater. Thanks so much for having us, by the way. The first question is from Frank Tarkin via Twitter. He asks, how does the Greek myth of Prometheus tie into the story beyond just giving the ship its name?
Well, I think you're the right person to answer that one.
Okay. First we wanted to pick something that was really hard to pronounce.
Yes.
And had to be very pretentious. The myth of Prometheus is Prometheus was a titan in Greek mythology, and he decided that the gods were withholding fire from mankind. Mankind was sort of wandering around on the earth, very cold and not able to cook their food. So Prometheus stole fire from the gods, gave it to man, and as we all know, man has done all sorts of wonderful things with fire, but all sorts of nasty things as well. The gods got angry at Prometheus. They tied him to a rock, and so every day his liver gets pecked out by an eagle until it's completely gone. Then it regenerates, and then another eagle comes, repeats the process. And we said, hey, who doesn't want to have their liver pecked out by an eagle? Let's just name a movie after that. So obviously there's some thematic intent in terms of going with Prometheus. So this one's for Ridley from Cat Dog on Facebook. Make up your mind, Cat Dog. Seriously. Your films always have great female protagonists. How do Numi's and Charlize's characters in Prometheus fit into this tradition?
Boy, these are smart questions.
They are smart.
I've done several films actually who've had strong female characters, such as Thelma and Louise, Alien, of course, is the first one. And in this instance, we decided that in the script form that there would be two women on board in 2083. Why not? One would fit into the category. Charlize would fit into the category of being fundamentally a company man, a person who represented the institution that actually paid for this whole trip that they were going to take. And the other person is Noomi Rapace, who is representing an anthropologist, neuroscientist, who actually has theories about our evolution and how we came about as a race. And I think, why not have two females doing that? There's no other reason than that.
Good answer. This one's from Jim Mogileski. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Jim, also on Facebook. We saw Guy Pearce appearing as Peter Wayland in the TED piece. Do the ideas he presents in that piece come to life in any way in Prometheus? So is Guy Pearce in the movie, Ridley?
He is.
Can you tell us anything else?
I think I'm going to get shot by Fox in a minute. But he is in the film. I don't really want to tell you any more about that, because if I do, I start sneaking into the plot. The thing to do is see the movie. But Guy Pearce does find his way into the film, indeed.
And the TED piece was in 2023. Can you at least confirm when the movie takes place?
Kind of the late 2080s, 2090s. So by that time, Mr. Pearce is a slightly older man.
Yes.
I'm not going to go any further than that.
Are you Guy Pearce?
No, not quite.
Lisa J. From Twitter asks, I was at Comic-Con last summer where you said that with Prometheus you wanted to scare the S **T out of audiences. I think we all know what she's talking about, guys, right? Is this the scariest movie you've ever made, and what makes it so frightening?
I think, I don't know, I'm not sure. To either of those questions, you will be able to tell me when you've seen the film. But we certainly set out to tell not just a scary movie, but a really interesting evolutionary story, which will raise many questions that is, in fact, in everyone's minds, almost day by day, I would say. In that journey, there are some very scary moments and very scary challenges. So I hope you're not disappointed. I don't think you will be.
From Leonard Leonelli on Twitter, can you discuss the development of the script? How did it transition from an Alien prequel into what you've called an original mythology? Was it fairly seamless? Again, very well articulated. A gentleman named John Spates wrote a script that I thought was great, and Ridley said was great, and sent to me. But Ridley said, I really want to make an original movie. I feel like I already made Alien. And I'm very happy with the way that turned out. There's no reason for me to just go back and do that again. There's some great ideas in this script. Is there a way that we can take these ideas and move forwards with them, at the same time giving a tip of the cap to the people who have seen Alien? We don't want to deny it. This is a part of that, but it has to be a movie unto itself. Sure. And I just sort of looked at you with stars in my eyes and said, whatever you want me to do, I will do. That all sounds awesome.
Yeah. And it evolved. I mean, actually, it took weeks.
Yeah.
Well,
months.
6. Was it? Really? Okay. But I mean, from the first time of saying to Fox, I was probably 2.5 years ago, which in the 2.5 years?
Yeah, I met you in June of 2010, but you had been working on it for a couple months.
So
already.
That timing for making a movie of this scale is pretty damn fast. So we'd been working on it and had found a draft that Damon describes. Off that, it needed work, and it needed that final step, that final evolution, to make it into what you call a real dynamic shooting script. And from that moment till today, when we're talking here tonight with the delivered movie, it's about a 2-year process, but it's fast.
And absolutely seamless, don't you think?
I think so.
You might see a seam or two, but no zippers. Karen K on Twitter asks, what convinced you that 3D was the way to go with Prometheus? It's a great question, because I think we all talked about, is it just going to be gimmicky? But you actually shot this movie in 3D. It's not a conversion.
I shot and edited it in 3D. It's not a conversion. It was absolutely no problem whatsoever. Particularly, I had a great cameraman called Darius Wolski. I come very much from the camera visual side anyway throughout my entire career. So taking off to 3D, honestly, was simply not a problem. And it seemed to be, why not? And I think the only negative thing about 3D is you've still got to wear these, right? And I remember seeing 3D films 40 years ago, one was called House of Wax.
House of Wax.
And was the Western, was it? Whatever it was, anyway. And I thought they may have done away with this by now, but they haven't, and it works like a son of a bitch. It actually evolves off screen. What you don't realize is you actually see 3D anyway. You've got 2 cameras. Normally, you've got long and short sight. That's the combination. That enables you to see in that way. Your brain has neutralized the fact that you're seeing in 3D, so you think you're seeing in 2D, but you're not. This and that on screen simply reminds you that that's the way you see. So when you see that green screen go up here with the title on it, and you go, wow, I thought, God, this lot are going to be easy to please, okay? That's a cheap thrill. So I think you see that way, believe it or not. So I think once you've seen 3D, you can appreciate what you've got between your 2 ears, or not.
And it works like a son of a bitch.
And it works like a son of a bitch.
This is from Jessica Aarons on Facebook. Did you use mostly CGI to create the worlds of Prometheus, or did you go, quote, old school with practical sets?
Well, the word old school I don't like, so go F yourself, okay? And because I can still kick your butt even with a dodgy leg, dude, on any tennis court. So let me
Take
see
that,
if one of the
Jessica.
questions. Go back. So did I answer it?
No. Yeah.
Okay, no, I didn't.
Yeah. CG versus
did I go sensible school with practical sets, okay? Because CGI is not cheaper. CGI is seriously more expensive. And actually, it takes the actors out of the set because they're acting in a green or blue vacuum, and everyone's guessing. And then the repair bill at the end of a lot of these films is extremely expensive. So we came out of this extremely economically on a seriously good-looking film.
Awesome. Well, it looks like you guys are the ones who waited in line in the rain to come and talk to us. So we'd love to hear some questions from you. I think there's microphones there and there. So please feel free to approach the mics, and they just get up out of your seats, I guess. Oh, there. Perfect. Great.
Okay, can you hear this? Okay, in the original Alien, the scene where the alien pops out the chest was awesome. The actors didn't even know that that was occurring.
I don't think you switched on. I don't think you switched on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Speak into it. That's what happens. Okay.
Okay, in Alien, the original, the monster comes out the chest, and the actors were surprised. Will you give us any treats like that in Prometheus?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, I'm even embarrassed about it. But you tell me. I'm embarrassed because it's pretty shocking.
Yes, sir.
Hello? Okay. Okay. My name is Mohammed. I am the consul of Egypt in LA, and I commuted despite the rain because you are very popular in the Middle East. You are very popular in the Middle East.
Can you speak up into the mic a little?
He's saying he's part of the Egyptian consulate, and he commuted here because you're very popular in the Middle East.
Oh, Kingdom of Heaven, right?
Now it's working? No? Okay. Okay. My name is Mohammed. I'm the consul of Egypt in LA. And I commuted despite the rain because you are very popular in the Middle East. Because your movies try to bridge the gap between the West and the East. And you don't give a negative image about the Arabs or the Muslims in your movies. For example, Body of Lies and Kingdom of Heaven, you gave a very good image about Islam and Arabs. And some of my friends started to believe that not every Arab or Muslim is Bin Laden. So thank you for, yes, really. Thank you so much. Yeah. So my question now, thank you very much for this. And so my question now, I feel jealous all the time when you go and shoot your movies in Morocco. Why don't you come and shoot movies in Egypt?
That's a good question. In fact, we may be aligning something which will bring me into the Arab world again sometime next year, which will touch on the subject of a woman called Gertrude Bell. You know who that was? She was responsible for persuading and helping the positioning of Faisal onto the throne of Mesopotamia that would become Iraq. This was in like 1910. Pretty smart evolution, really good idea, great script. And it's actually a very good look at what I'd call the Arab psychology and who the Arabs are as people. And one of the reasons I like going to Morocco is that I just love the people, I love the food, and every time I've gone there, I've found different locations. I always get all the help I need. So I will have to come to Egypt as well, and I'd certainly love to come to Egypt. I've never been there in my life. I'd love to visit, and indeed make a film there.
Cool.
Next question's here.
All right. Yes. I noticed that in Prometheus, it has a very clean, futuristic look versus Alien, which has more of an old, used future look. Can you talk about more how it's going to bridge between the two, distinct visuals, and also about the score? How will you make any reference to Jerry Goldsmith's score?
The Jerry Goldsmith score, I think, was one of the major scores, really, the last 30, 40 years. And Jerry was who he was, you know, and I did, in fact, 2 films with Jerry. I think the score is always incredibly important for me because I tend to shoot with score in mind. I've never shot a film without score in mind, actually. I'm sure I will one day. But so the score, yeah, the score is an evolution and is a script in itself. So, and I pay a lot of attention to that. And Mark Stridenfeld has done a very nice score for us for this present film. This is the 5th score he'll have done for me. But it's very important to me. Score is nearly as important. I would say score is sometimes as important as the visual. The first thing was about what was it about the look of Alien to the look of this film?
Yeah, basically how Alien has everything's very gritty and like has this very distinct like used future, but in Prometheus everything's coming like very clean. And I'm assuming it's because, you know, Prometheus, it's based off
It was a choice. Yeah, it was a choice. I mean, I just felt we'd been there, seen it, and done it. On, you know, grunge is way overdone now. Anyway, I think I did one of the first grunge things. Anyway, it's called Blade Runner, and you know, I think if I see one more grunge-oriented, I'll shoot myself. And I think because I think it was a huge influence on the way things look. There's no question about that. And I just wanted to go back right into industrial design. And most of the stuff they see on this screen would fly or work or speak. In fact, you know those spinning balls that go, the red tracking balls that you saw on screen? I'm going to sell those to NASA. If you believe that, you'll believe anything.
Gee. I also think that the Nostromo is a mining ship. So,
yeah,
you know, it's going to get dirty, right?
So.
Over here.
You talk about evolution as being a main point of how you develop the movie and the storyline and everything. How many evolutionary steps might we get treated to for the species of alien, as I'm assuming it's one of the last things that actually comes out of what happens in Prometheus?
How do you
Just
know
a
that?
fan
You know what? We call that a 60 Minutes question where I come from. Where the interviewer asks a question presupposing that we will just answer it as if you hadn't taken a massive leap forward.
Yeah, that's called go pay and see the movie.
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's hopefully all that we can say is that in terms of any extraterrestrial life that is presented in this movie, it will be different than extraterrestrial life that you have seen in different movies. Perhaps that's additive, perhaps it's going in its own new way, perhaps it's both, but hopefully you will get the sort of the hunched over monkey to hominid progression which you seek, my friend.
That's exactly what I wanted. Thank you.
It's like this. If Fassbender were here, he'd do it much better.
Okay.
We have one more question here.
The movie's tagline is "The search for our beginning could lead to our end." You mentioned evolution. This also leads one to wonder about God. The Greeks, like you said, believed Prometheus brought the gift of fire to man. The book of Genesis shows Satan bringing enlightenment to mankind. What does this Prometheus symbolize specifically? What is the religious significance?
That is like one of the most insightful questions I've ever been asked at a thing
And
like this. How did you get in?
We're tongue-tied. But to answer it, you're going to start talking about the plot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say that it's a very insightful question because the characters in the movie are having the very conversation that you're having. And what's really interesting to us when we started talking about the future is, say, 100 years from now, or in this case, in 2085, are people still going to be having the same conversations we're having now about creation? Or will science have gone to a place where that conversation is radically changed? And what are the religious and spiritual implications of that? So what we're willing to say is that your question is dealt with and talked about with great significance in the movie, but we don't want to tell you what the answer to it is, or whether or not the characters are still asking it at the end.
And further to that, some scientists will actually acknowledge that that's a really good question. Because some scientists, whether they're astrophysics or quantum mathematics or whatever it is, they get to a wall sometimes, frequently, and they have to employ their own creative process to take them through that wall. That's why, you know, that level of mathematics and science is artistic, in my opinion, right? Yeah. There's an art form, because you're suddenly thinking along another level, and I think that's why some scientists have been influenced by good science fiction movies. It's because it takes the headset and says, wait a minute, I'm trying to beat my head against this spot in the door. If I move over here, adjust, and do a what if, I can evolve. And I said, when that doesn't happen and you can't reach it, do you ever think about God? And they smile, and some say, absolutely.
And, you know, if we did our jobs right, hopefully you'll be asking yourself, is there any scientific discovery that could be made in my lifetime that would make me stop believing in God? It's a very provocative question, and we certainly don't have the answer to it, but the movie is certainly asking that question.
Boy, that created a silence.
Yeah.
That's going to wrap it up for today's Q&A. On behalf of 20th Century Fox and AMC Theaters, we would like to thank Sir Ridley Scott and Damon Lindelof for participating. Please give them a big round of applause. And now for those watching online and waiting patiently, we would like to present the new full-length trailer for Prometheus, only in theaters June 8th. Thanks for joining us.